thank you for joining us back at the Beauty Lab podcast. I'm your host, Monina, and today I'm going to be interviewing our co-host, Velia. All right, so today's topic is all about hair.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, so can you talk to me about sulfate-free shampoos versus sulfate-containing shampoo?
Okay.
And why is this such a big deal in the healthy hair movement?
Welcome to the Beauty Lab podcast, your drive time resource for all things beauty, health, and wellness. We're your hosts and favorite beauty nerds, Monina and Velia.
Join us as we debunk myths, explore the latest trends, and dive deep into the science behind your favorite products. We'll interview industry experts and answer your burning beauty questions in 30 minutes or less.
Well, first of all, let me explain what sulfates are, because
Okay.
I think a lot of people hear the word sulfates and they're just like, sulfate's bad. And they don't really have any idea why.
All I know is sulfates make the bubbles.
And that's true.
Right?
They do
Okay.
make the bubbles. They do.
Okay.
So a sulfate is it's a surfactant. A surfactant is a
Right.
cleansing agent.
Okay.
So yes, you're right. It does make the bubbles. It's what makes the suds.
Yeah.
And sulfates are excellent for removing dirt and oil from, and even product buildup from your
Okay.
hair and your scalp.
Okay.
They are in a category of surfactants called anionic surfactants. So there's three different types of surfactants. There's anionic, which again are awesome at cleaning things.
Okay.
And then there's cationic, and these three are used in shampoos.
Okay.
So, and I'll explain a little bit more about each of them, but
Okay.
anionic again is the really good cleansing. Like you need this, you need an anionic surfactant in order to remove dirt and oil
Okay.
from your hair and from your scalp.
Okay.
There's cationic surfactants that are really conditioning, but they're not good at all at removing dirt and oil from the scalp.
Okay.
And then there's amphoteric surfactants, which are usually kind of used in conjunction with cationic or anionic surfactants to like balance out the formula. And they add lather and conditioning as well.
What's that one called?
That one's amphoteric.
So amphoteric is always with one or the other?
I wouldn't say always,
Oh,
but
okay.
I would say in a nice like balanced shampoo,
Yeah.
there's either 2 or 3 of the surfactants.
Okay.
Yeah, but in order to get a good cleaning effect, you
Yeah.
have to have an anionic surfactant.
Okay.
That doesn't mean you have to have a sulfate. So
Oh.
a sulfate is a type of anionic surfactant, but it's not the only anionic surfactant.
Oh, okay.
So specifically when we're like sulfate's bad in shampoo, we're talking about sodium lauryl sulfate specifically, or
yes.
sodium laureth
Yes,
sulfate.
and I do have clients that are allergic to all of that
Really?
family. Yeah.
Are they allergic?
Well, they told me.
Or are they allergic?
Okay, so explain the difference between sensitivity and allergies.
Yeah, well, I mean, sensitivity would be like an irritation.
Yeah.
Allergy would be like a rash or hives or,
Okay.
something like
Because
that.
sensitivity, because I know from a skincare standpoint, you may be sensitive to it, but it doesn't mean you can't use it, because you can actually build up a tolerance and eventually
Okay.
start to use the product. Is that the same for hair
Probably,
care or no?
but I haven't ever heard anyone say that they're allergic to sulfates or even sensitive to sulfates. Maybe that's because you're talking about skincare, like where your face is a little bit less exposed to, like, we have more oil. We don't wash our hair every single day.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, I feel like
yeah,
we have
yeah.
more of a barrier on our scalp.
Yes.
Than
Okay.
maybe like on your face.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
So, by the way, sulfates, they're not bad guys.
Right.
They're totally not. They actually, like the way I like to explain them is they're just overachievers. Like they just do such a great job
At cleaning. Okay.
that they maybe do too good of a job and can be a little bit stripping.
And with that note, I know some people who color their hair
Yes.
say they don't want to use sulfate.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it could strip.
Totally.
Okay.
Like, I think a general kind of rule of thumb is if you color your hair or you wash it frequently, like like every other day, every day.
Yeah.
Or you do any other kind of chemical service, like a Brazilian blowout or something, you don't want to use a sulfate-containing shampoo.
Okay.
But sulfate-free shampoos, they have anionic surfactants. They should.
Okay.
And they're just not sulfates. They're usually like sulfonate.
Okay. So
and that's different than a sulfate. It's much more gentle, but it's still as effective because it's still an anionic surfactant.
So when you're talking about sulfates and choosing a shampoo, you just want an anionic surfactant in there so that it actually clean the hair.
Exactly.
Okay.
So what happened was 15 years ago or whatever, we were all like washing our hair every day. And then it was like, don't wash your hair every day. And we talked about this like in episode 2, I think.
Yeah.
And then we went super hard. Instead of washing it every day, we washed it like once a week.
Once a week.
Which is nuts.
I can't. My
no.
hair gets too oily.
Me neither. And so kind of the same thing with sulfates. It's like, okay, I'm not only going to get rid of sulfates, I'm going to get rid of all of the anionic surfactants.
Okay.
And so we're left with like these, natural, like all natural shampoos that don't even have the cleansing abilities.
So it says natural shampoo, but if it doesn't have an anionic surfactant, it's not going to clean your hair.
Correct. And you're not going to know that it hasn't, it's not going to say like on the back, like anionic surfactant. It'll probably say something sulfonate. So like, I think a lot of times when people read the back of the bottles, if they see sulfonate, they think, oh, that's a sulfate because they don't really know the nuance between sulfonate and sulfate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do we know if it has an anionic surfactant in there?
Usually, like I would say the most common would be a sulfonate.
Oh, got it. Okay, so sulfonate, guys, is that what?
Yeah, sulfonate. Sulfonates are different.
Yeah. Okay. And is that something somebody with colored hair can use too?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, because it does not contain sulfates. Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. Wow. I didn't know that. Now, there's different types of shampoos. So I know there's ones that are like clarifying shampoo.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so where does that fit in, and who should be using a clarifying shampoo?
Okay, so clarifying shampoos are for people who have like really hard water, like mineral deposits.
Okay.
It's a very deep cleansing shampoo.
Okay.
So you don't want to use them very often at all. Like, and in fact, I feel like clarifying shampoos have sort of gotten to be like on our radar lately because, because now everyone who's been like only washing their hair once a week has all this junk in their hair, and they're like,
I need a clarifying shampoo.
I'm going to use a clarifying shampoo to get rid of all the crap that I should have been washing out more regularly anyway.
Okay.
So instead of washing your hair once a week and using a clarifying shampoo, washing it a few times a week with a sulfate-free shampoo is a million times better, because clarifying shampoos have like no conditioning agents. Even sulfate-containing shampoos have conditioning agents. There's still a balance in sulfate-containing shampoos.
Okay.
They're not just like pouring, Clorox bleach on your hair like people like to sort of demonize them for.
Yeah.
They're nothing like that at all. In fact, if like, speaking of, just talking about sulfates a little bit more, like, if you have like a teenage boy who plays sports.
Right. Really
sulfates.
Oily.
Yeah.
Just
they
lots of
need
buildup.
sulfates.
They need sulfates.
Totally.
Okay.
If you're someone who doesn't color your hair, like at all, no matter what age you are, and you're working out and you want a little bit of a deeper cleanse, maybe you don't wash your hair every single day.
Yeah.
You can use sulfate-containing shampoo. It's fine.
So does the clarifying shampoo, what does that have? Does it have?
It's like literally just, it's a much more harsh, it does have sulfates, yes.
Okay.
But they're a much harsher sulfates. And
in
the clarifying. And they're made to strip.
Okay.
Because they're made to strip out like extra product and mineral deposits.
So someone who does a lot to their hair, is that who should be using clarifying?
What do you mean by does a lot?
Okay, because you had mentioned, let's say a teenage boy who sweats a lot and maybe they don't clean their hair very well anyways. are they a candidate for the clarifying shampoo?
I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay, so who would you recommend a clarifying shampoo for then?
I would recommend a clarifying shampoo very rarely, like once a month or something.
Oh.
If you're someone who like is regularly washing your hair, but you live in a place that has like really hard water, and you just kind of want like a fresh sort of start. But I wouldn't recommend clarifying shampoo for anyone who has colored hair.
Okay. And not every day.
Oh God, no. No.
Because I know people
who use it every day.
Yeah. And tell me if I'm wrong, but I years ago talked to another friend who was saying that the clarifying shampoos usually are more clear looking.
Yeah, they are.
Right? And then your more conditioning type of shampoo look creamier.
That's true.
Okay. So that can kind of help you figure out if this is more of a clarifying or more of a balanced type of
it can,
shampoo.
but if it's a clarifying shampoo, it should say clarifying shampoo.
Got it.
Like, or chelating shampoo, which you don't really see that word anymore, but some people know it.
Okay.
But clarifying, it should absolutely say clarifying on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just to recap, so every shampoo should have an anionic surfactant.
Correct.
Because that's going to clean it. A clarifying shampoo should only be used sparingly if you do use it.
Right.
And it should only be used once a month.
I would say.
Even needed. Okay. Got it.
So I know that like in the curly hair like community, a lot of times they'll, you know, they don't wash their hair very often because curly hair is like its own kind of animal, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's like re-wetting and reapplying product, not really washing because you sort of like want the oils. Naturally curly hair tends to be naturally drier. I don't necessarily agree with not washing it more often, but I understand the need to want to keep the oils in and whatever. So because of this, like with very curly haired people, and I don't even want to just say women because like my son has longer curly hair.
Yeah.
But he washes his hair like every day.
Regularly.
But you know, with women, long curly, you know, I get it. Like it's a hassle, and you don't really want to wash your curly hair every single day. That's a big chore.
Okay.
So after like a week of, you know, it's usually like a once a week kind of thing, and they make it a whole routine. It's wash day.
Yeah. I get it.
So a lot of times you hear like clarifying shampoos, you know, they're using clarifying shampoos on their wash day, but I don't know.
But
like
you're saying that it's not really
situational.
Necessary.
Yeah. Because it's so stripping.
Yeah.
It's so stripping that like it sort of like puts you back into this like, it's not just like a reset for the week. It's like you're almost like setting yourself back a little bit. Clarifying shampoos I feel like are not the answer to I'm just going to wash my hair once a week and I'll use a clarifying shampoo. That's not it.
That's a good myth buster there.
Yeah,
just because it's clarifying doesn't mean okay now once a week I can wash my hair.
Exactly.
Got it. Wow. Okay. Amazing. So good.
Yeah, it's actually way better for you to wash your hair 2 to 3 times a week with sulfate-free shampoo or even sulfate-containing shampoo if you need extra cleaning.
Right.
Then go a whole week and then we use a clarifying.
Well, I know for some of our audience, they may not know, but you actually have a hair care line.
I do.
Yourself.
I do.
So do you actually have a specific type of sulfate-free or
shampoo? all of my shampoos are sulfate-free.
Oh, there you go.
None of them have sulfates, and that's because, and it's not because I'm like, ew, sulfates, but it's because my line is formulated for people who color their hair, for people who do kind of chemical services.
Right.
Yeah, but it does have an anionic surfactant. They all have anionic surfactants.
Yeah, I think for me, what I'm getting out of this is whether it's sulfate-free or not, we want an anionic surfactant in there.
And
really
all anionic surfactants are not created equal.
Got it.
Yeah.
Good to know. Good to know. All right. Next question.
Yes.
All right. On days when you don't wash your hair, should you just wet it? Like you mentioned, people with curly hair, or but let's say I don't wash it in order to preserve my color. Like, should I be just wetting it?
No.
Oh.
So, no. Okay, so short answer, no, but longer answer.
Okay.
Curly hair is sort of like, and when I say curly hair, I don't mean just like a little bit of wave. I mean like the people who have really curly hair. You've seen it on social media. They love to have their own community and because it is a texture that is hard to relate to if you don't have that type of hair.
It's a different lifestyle.
It is.
Yeah. No, I get it.
and I know I've mentioned this in other episodes, but I have naturally curly hair. My kids have naturally curly hair. I have a Brazilian blowout, so that's why it's not curly.
Listen to that episode because she blew me away that Brazilian blowouts aren't just for people with curly hair.
Yeah. So talking about wetting your hair on days that you're not washing it. If you have curly hair and you absolutely have to wet it a little bit just to kind of reactivate your product and your style and whatever, the least amount of wetting you have to do, like you can do, the better.
Okay.
Because so here's the deal with like the pH of hair. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with the pH scale, it goes from 0 to 14, and 7 is obviously right in the middle. 7 is neutral. Hair lives at a 4.5 to 5.5, which is more on the acid side of the scale. Right. So I'm trying to like simplify this so it's not like hard to understand. Anytime you raise the pH of your hair, you open the cuticle. So the cuticle layer of your hair is the layer that you can see. And if you were to see it under a microscope, and some of you probably have, it looks like shingles. The cuticle looks like shingles that go down.
Yeah, like any Pantene commercial.
Right, I know. You've seen the Pantene commercials. You've seen the cuticle. Yeah. So when the cuticles lay down, the hair is nice and smooth. It's tight. It's healthy. So anytime it goes, the pH goes over 4.5 to 5.5, it raises the cuticle layer of the hair. Anytime you raise the cuticle layer of your hair, damages cause, color can come out, because basically the cuticle is kind of holding it in.
But now you're opening
it up, and color can be removed. Some dryness can happen. Moisture is removed. Okay. Yeah. So again, hair lives at a 4.5 to 5.5. So water is a 7.
Right.
So obviously that's more than 4.5 to 5.5. Right. So even just wetting your hair raises the pH level of your hair. Exactly. Like for you, you don't have super curly hair, obviously. You're not in that category of people that I'm talking about.
Right.
But if you're like, I just want to re-wet it, I don't want to wash it because washing it's bad.
Yeah. Or I just don't want to because it takes so long to style the hair again. But
if you're wetting it, you have to style the hair again.
That's true.
Yeah. But I know I get it all the time. Like I didn't wash my hair today, but I just wet it in the shower. Well, what'd you do that for? Because then you have to like put heat on it to blow dry it and whatever. And again, this is not for curly haired people. So wetting it is not the move. If you don't, just to restyle it, unless you have curly hair and you absolutely have to. But I wouldn't soak your whole head.
Yeah.
You know, if you can just spray and add a little conditioner or whatever.
Because what you're doing is you're disrupting that pH.
Exactly.
As soon as the water hits it.
Exactly. Okay. So just continuing a little bit with pH, sulfate-free shampoo. Okay. Is a 4.5 to 5.5. Oh. So if you're going to wet your hair, you might as well just wash it.
Okay. Just glam-bushed me.
Glam-bush.
So you're saying it's worse to wet the hair because you're disrupting the pH as opposed to just washing it, because when you wash it, it's at the right pH level.
Right. I know. It's kind of mind-blowing because you think like, detergents. But again, this is sulfate-free shampoo.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you can picture this in your head, a scale from 0 to 14 with water as a 7 right in the middle, and hair living at a 4.5 to 5.5,
more acidic.
Sulfate-free, 4.5 to 5.5, sulfate-containing shampoos are about a 7. So like the same as water.
Oh.
So not terrible.
Right.
But, you know, not.
But you're causing those cuticles
Exactly.
to open up.
Clarifying shampoo is somewhere between, depending on the brand and how it's formulated, somewhere between a 6 and a 10, right?
Wow, clarifying
Yes.
shampoo. Wow.
And then, you're like, so now what? Like,
wow.
And then conditioners are a 3.5 to 5.5. So that's why it's so important for the people who think they don't have to use conditioner in the shower. It's so important.
Yeah.
Even if you're using a sulfate-free shampoo, because I know someone's gonna be like, but if I don't use a sulfate-containing shampoo, like, isn't it okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess.
Wow.
You know, it's not great.
Okay.
But because you get a lot of benefits from conditioner anyway.
Right.
But to bring it back down, like more on the acid side to a 3.5 to 5.5 with conditioner, just closes that cuticle.
Yeah.
So the more acid, the more closed cuticle.
Yeah. So a conditioner is almost like when you put on moisturizer because it's locking in the moisture.
Yes.
So a conditioner is locking in the moisture and closing the cuticles.
Exactly.
Totally makes sense. Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you want to talk about as far as sulfates then? Or did
No, I mean,
cover
that's
it?
pretty much it. Just don't be afraid of them. You know, they're not the bad guys, but if you have colored hair and, you know, it's not that it's going to ruin the health of your hair.
Yeah.
It could, if you're using it every day, like if you're someone who washes your hair every day, probably don't need sulfates.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Again, unless you're like a teenage boy who goes to football practice or hockey and then they come home and they stink, you know? You can throw some sulfates on that head.
But just in general, to kind of recap, anionic surfactant is what we want. And you said to look for which word?
Sulfonate.
Sulfonate. So if it says sulfonate, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Basically, right. Okay. So now we're going to, and we really encourage you guys, if you have questions or even after you've watched this episode, if you have another question about sulfates or hair care, please send those messages to us.
Yes.
And if you find value at all in any of the topics that we go over, please like, share, and subscribe. We'd really appreciate that. All right, so now we're at the point of our show where we're going to look at our listeners' questions.
Oh, yeah.
And today, the question is from Anna from Colorado.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, so her question is, I have a silicone scrubber that I use in the shower to scrub my scalp.
Okay.
Ooh, I didn't know those existed.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I have one.
Cool.
I'll show you.
All right. And she said, after I use it, my scalp feels itchy and tender. What am I doing wrong?
Well, it shouldn't feel itchy and tender.
Okay.
Just as a general rule of thumb, like no matter what you're doing with your hair, like whether that's putting it up for the day or whatever, your scalp shouldn't ever hurt.
Okay.
Like, yeah, you shouldn't be, anything you do shouldn't be causing discomfort on your scalp. Yeah, so good question, Anna, because if you are feeling like your scalp is tender and itchy, that you are definitely doing something wrong.
Okay.
It's probably, you're probably just being a little too rough.
Too aggressive.
The itchy part, not entirely sure. That could be your shampoo. That's just also a guess because there's lots of reasons why your scalp could be itchy. But if it's only itchy and tender, like after you use the scrubber, then I'm going to say that it's probably the product that you're washing your hair with because maybe it's just too drying. And maybe it's
the wrong
it could even be a clarifying shampoo. Because they can definitely strip way too much.
Way too much.
I mean, that's what they're made for.
And now you're in there with the scrubber and it's a little too much.
Yeah.
Too aggressive.
Exactly. And so those silicone scrubbers, so I have one. I'm going to grab it. Okay. So this is a silicone scrubber. So if you feel the bristles, they're soft and they're very like flexible.
Okay.
And so the purpose of this is to just get like a nice kind of scrub on your scalp. But I have mixed feelings about this because
This before or after your shampoo?
this is during.
Oh, during.
So
Okay.
good question.
Okay.
This is to be used like when you have shampoo on your scalp, just to get in there and scrub.
Okay. I think every teenage boy in America should be required.
If you use so I'm doing this motion, but that's like really wrong. Like you
Oh.
see this motion like when you're watching like a commercial or something
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah.
Really, it should be more of like a brushing sort of
Oh.
kind of motion, because if you go in and you're like scrubbing like this, you know, it doesn't really do anything
Do the job. Yeah.
good. It just kind of
Irritates probably the back and forth.
and also like when your hair is wet, it can cause a lot of tangles too. So when your hair is wet, it's really fragile, and if you're like making little circles, you're kind of creating like a lot of tangles. And it's also kind of giving you the impression that you're giving yourself a good scrub,
Right.
but you're actually not, because what you want on your scalp more so than these little bristles is shampoo. And fingertips are like the best tool, because look how short these little bristles are.
Yeah.
So I use this when I do my Japanese scalp treatments, because they're like a massaging sort of like, but when I use them, I do more
Long
of like
strokes.
long strokes.
Yeah.
And it's not because I'm trying to scrub like the skin off of my client's scalp. It's more of like a little bit more of like a massage feeling.
Okay.
So Anna, don't use these. If you should just be using your fingertips and lots of shampoo. I don't know what you're doing that's making your scalp itch, but you just getting a bunch of shampoo on your scalp, and then like look how much longer your fingers are.
Yeah. So you can really get
you
in
can
there.
really get in if you have long or thick and long hair.
Yeah.
Versus this like little half an inch.
Yeah.
Little
that's
knob.
more of like a massage, like you said.
Yeah,
It's kinda
exactly.
like increasing circulation,
Exactly.
massaging. Yeah.
Which is exactly why I use it during the Japanese scalp massages.
Sounds so great. If you're in the Bay Area, you need to book one of these.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome.
Very,
But don't if you do book a Japanese scalp massage, even if it's not with me, if you don't live anywhere near here, know that you're going to be completely useless for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Like
You may want to just hop in bed.
it's more,
Once
it's more relaxing than like a body massage.
It's a nice, relaxing experience.
Yeah, don't get one and then have to go to your like corporate job.
No.
Yeah.
Do it at the end of the day. Just if we can squeeze it in, I have one more question.
Yeah.
That I've had asked before. Is it healthy or a good idea to sleep with a ponytail?
No, not really.
Okay.
I mean, again, okay, so remember a few minutes ago I said don't do anything that like hurts your head. So if you can sleep with like a low ponytail and just to get your hair out of the way, or like a loose braid or something along those lines, that's better than sleeping with like your hair pulled really tight.
Yeah, I'm talking tight. Like people sleep with their high ponytail and it's tight and pulling.
Yeah, no, be nice to your scalp, because you know, once that damage is done, the reason that you want to be nice to your scalp is because your follicles, when they have that constant tension on them.
Yes, it's a tension.
It's a tension, exactly. Anytime you're pulling, there's tension, and you can start to damage the follicle. It's not going to happen right away.
Got it.
Kind of like how sun damage shows up 10 years later.
Yeah, exactly.
The damage that you're doing by pulling and pulling and pulling on your follicles it's gonna catch up, and
it's cumulative.
It is, and it's not gonna it's gonna kind of feel like it's gonna come out of nowhere.
Yeah, and then you start to lose hair.
You'll start to lose hair.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tip for those of you who sleep with your hair up in a high tight ponytail.
Yeah.
You can still do it maybe looser.
Yeah.
Or a lower bun, or the bonnet. We've talked about the silk bonnet.
If you can handle the bonnet, use the bonnet.
Yeah.
Bonnets are great.
Silk bonnet. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all the time we have today. Thank you so much for joining us. My name's Monina Wright.
And I'm Velia.
And until next time,
Keep experimenting with your beauty routine.